As we are departing from this location today, I kindly ask that you vacate the premises. We will also cover the $473 monthly loan payment. With my daughter arriving, we won't require your assistance any longer. All right, please handle everything from this point forward. Despite the considerable support we provided to our in-laws, they readily transferred their trust to the younger sister. Upon arriving at the entrance, while gathering my things, I shared something of great significance with them. Oh, it appears there's been a mix-up. The monthly loan repayment is, as I mentioned, causing their faces to turn pale in shock. I'm Emily, and I'm 35 years old, working in an office. For 3 years now, I have been married to Tom. Our paths crossed thanks to a mutual friend who was convinced we were meant to be together. This friend's instinct was remarkably accurate. From our very first conversation, there was an undeniable connection between us. Tom shared my feelings, and we started a relationship. Our relationship progressed seamlessly, and about 2 years later, he asked me to marry him. My heart was filled with joy because my love for him ran deep. Our families were in complete harmony regarding our marriage, and we celebrated with a beautiful wedding surrounded by many loved ones. We embarked on a honeymoon and started our journey together as a married couple. Since we both had jobs, we divided the household tasks between us. Tom had spent many years in solitude, and his ability to cook proved to be a significant advantage. Despite my late return from work, Tom stepped in to help and began cooking, ensuring we could enjoy dinner shortly after. We collaborated on all household tasks, and life felt harmonious and free of stress. We cherished the presence of one another. In an instant, 3 years flew by, yet our connection endured with the same strength as in our early days of marriage. A noteworthy event took place. Tom's father became unwell unexpectedly, and we hurried to the hospital. "Father, are you all right? Thank you for being here." "Tom and Emily, I apologize for any worry I may have caused you. I believe I pushed myself too hard." He had immersed himself in his work, frequently putting in extended hours, and as time passed, the weight of those years began to affect him. "At this moment, I will be undergoing a series of tests and will await the outcomes." Understood. Tom and I felt a sense of unease. But beyond that, my mother-in-law was noticeably distressed. It was only natural for the mother-in-law, who had consistently stood by her husband in his role as a housewife, to feel distressed when her partner, the family's cornerstone, found himself in grave peril. "Are you doing okay, mother-in-law?" Indeed, in some way, our affection for both of them was profound, leading us to visit more often, striving to offer as much support as we could. After a week, the results of the father-in-law's tests were revealed. Even though he was discharged from the hospital, worries lingered about a possible relapse. Recognizing their potential inability to manage another crisis, Tom suggested an idea. "Hey, what do you think about the idea of living with my parents?" The proposal came as no surprise. If I were in their shoes, I would also wish to be with my parents. "Absolutely, that works for me. We should talk to them about it immediately," I suggested. "Thank you, Emily," Tom responded. We promptly shared the concept with our in-laws. "Coexist in harmony? We want to be a burden," my mother-in-law said, her tears glistening as she spoke. "It's no trouble whatsoever. Emily and I are genuinely concerned for both of you," I assured them. "I appreciate both of you." Our in-laws accepted it with tears of gratitude. They likely felt a significant amount of anxiety. We quickly settled in with them. My mother-in-law, aware that we both had jobs, stepped up to handle the household chores. Her support allowed us to concentrate on our work. The father-in-law chose to retire early, dedicating his days to relaxation at home, which led to a notable improvement in his health. We all harmonized beautifully, free from any troubles, and life was filled with joy. Nevertheless, our in-laws put forth a particular suggestion. "This has been on my mind for some time now. What are your thoughts on constructing the new two-family house?" My father-in-law responded. This house feels a touch cramped for 4 adults. And if Tom and Emily decide to have children down the line, it will undoubtedly feel even more confined." As I contemplate what lies ahead, I've been envisioning the construction of a larger home that will allow us to live comfortably for the remainder of our days. Nonetheless, it's not a feasible option relying solely on my savings. We should come together to discuss and make a decision. Tom and I were taken aback by the proposal. Yet we considered it to be a reasonable idea. The in-laws' house, while not overly cramped, lacks a sense of spaciousness and comfort. Departing from this place for an extended period could result in tension developing between us. Considering the option of purchasing a new house that accommodates everyone comfortably seems like a wise choice. After a lengthy discussion with Tom, we ultimately agreed to proceed with the father-in-law's proposal. Afterward, the four of us visited real estate agencies to explore different properties. We thought about creating a space that is accessible for our in-laws and making sure there are ample rooms available for when children visit. It would be best for it to be located in a secure neighborhood, conveniently near a hospital and a train station, with straightforward access to grocery stores. Considering the needs of all involved, it appeared that the costs could be quite high. Nonetheless, if we are to reside here for the entirety of our lives, we wish to avoid making excessive compromises. Every family member echoed the same feeling, and driven by our resolve, we chose to construct our dream home, regardless of the expense. Eventually, our new home was finally finished. The exterior and interior were both fresh and stunning, and simply looking at it brought us immense happiness. This is truly remarkable. I refuse to be unwell any longer. My mother-in-law expressed her desire to maintain her health and reside here for as long as she can. The in-laws appeared delighted, and my husband and I shared in that excitement. This is the dwelling that will accompany us throughout our lives. When we have kids, I envision playing catch in the garden and enjoying barbecues. I exclaimed, "That sounds wonderful." My husband added, "Let's create countless family memories here." We were brimming with exhilaration and delight. Residing in the house proved to be exceptionally cozy, and it seemed to embody the height of joy. The comfort of my home fueled my enthusiasm for my work even further. As a result, my efforts progressed seamlessly. My public and private lives were both enriching, and I truly felt thankful for purchasing this house. Time flew by, and before I knew it, 2 years had slipped away in this house. Our bond with the in-laws remained strong, as it always had been, and we were confident that the future held nothing but joy. However, in this new chapter of our lives, something unexpected occurred. It was during the visit of my sister-in-law and her husband to our new house. "This house is truly lovely, but it doesn't seem right that it's just for you all," she remarked. "What do you mean by that?" After much discussion, we reached a decision to purchase this house alongside our parents. I responded, "Yet, I find myself grappling with a sense of envy. When we were still enduring a frugal winter, it feels as though you're living beyond your means." She replied sharply. My sister-in-law frequently came to our home during the holidays and consistently voiced her feelings of envy. Each time, she would claim that we were unjust. "We've been covering the mortgage for this house, and it's a significant sum each month. We're managing our finances well, making enough to cover the mortgage. So there's really no basis for her complaints. Living here with the in-laws would be quite the adventure, wouldn't it? What insights can you truly gather about the market for this house?" My husband and I shared a knowing look. The sister-in-law likely spoke impulsively, not considering her words carefully. Yet, her thoughtless remarks began to touch the hearts of my in-laws. My father-in-law expressed how wonderful it would be if Kana could come and live here with us. "Indeed, it would bring some excitement," my mother-in-law remarked. "Hey, what are you two discussing? Haven't we been sharing this space all along?" I remarked, attempting to ease the mood. "Oh, really? I was merely expressing my thoughts," the sister-in-law responded. "Indeed, there's no reason to feel alarmed, is there?" My husband chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. Although the in-laws attempted to downplay it, it was clear that they were intrigued by the prospect of residing with the sister-in-law. It appeared that they held a special fondness for her. Even Mercer, their beloved companion, went after her. She possessed an exquisite charm with her delicate features, resembling a doll since her early years. She was 4 years younger than Tom, born when the in-laws were older, which led them to dote on her even more. This indulgence had resulted in her becoming rather pampered, and Tom found himself navigating her assertive demeanor. After listening to everything Tom had to say, I found myself feeling cautious around my sister-in-law. For a time following our marriage, Tom and I found ourselves unexpectedly surprised, as she appeared to be causing us no issues at all. However, lately, she had been growing more and more interested in our new house. "Ah, Emily, you've returned. I'll be taking my leave now," she remarked one day. "Oh, I wish you could linger a little more," I said, attempting to sound courteous, yet secretly wishing for her departure. However, she feigned concern, suggesting that it could be troublesome for Tom and Emily. "I don't consider it a nuisance," I replied, attempting to mask my annoyance. "One could argue that, yet it's clear in your gaze and actions," she shot back. "Uninvited visitors ought to depart promptly." "Goodbye, Mom and Dad," she exclaimed as she stepped out. Upon the departure of the sister-in-law, the in-laws displayed clear signs of distress. It seemed they longed for her to have lingered a bit more. Although they remained silent about their emotions, their expressions and demeanor conveyed a great deal. I frequently sensed a disconnect, seeking solace in my room after work to escape the mounting unease that hung in the air of our home. As Tom arrived home, we would carefully navigate to the living room for dinner. Yet the mood at the dinner table grew more and more tense. Prolonged pauses lingered in the atmosphere, revealing an unmistakable sense of unease. Tom also felt the shift and started to suspect that his sister was the source of our difficulties. As our connection with the in-laws began to fray, the sister-in-law ultimately decided to act. One holiday, Tom and I came back from our morning shopping to discover strange shoes at the entrance. We shared a look of confusion, and then his mother-in-law came toward us from the living room. "At last, you have returned. We need to talk," she stated, her voice carrying an unexpected gravity. Upon our arrival in the living room, we found the sister-in-law and her husband already seated. "Ah, at last, you've arrived," she remarked, speaking to us with a relaxed demeanor. "Kenna, what's happening? Starting today, this will be our home. So kindly take your leave," she announced, surprising us all. "What is this?" Tom and I were surprised by her unexpected announcement. What could be on her mind as she makes the move today? "Wait a minute, that's absurd to claim out of nowhere. It's not abrupt." After much discussion with Mom and Dad, she replied with assurance, "Kai and I will ensure everyone's needs are met. I'll take care of the household chores and provide support for you whenever necessary. We ask for your trust, Mom and Dad, now that our daughter is here. Your presence is no longer necessary. A daughter-in-law who neglects household duties and lacks children cannot compete with Kenna." Their words struck a painful chord within me. Upon witnessing my astonished expression, the sister-in-law couldn't help but smirk. "We'll pay the $473 monthly loan," she said, as if that would somehow make everything all right. "What, $473? I stumbled over my words, struggling to grasp the reality of what was being said. Living in such a lovely house for that price is quite remarkable. Tom and I shared bewildered looks. It was evident that the in-laws had already set their sights on evicting us. Following that experience, we found it impossible to remain there any longer. "Is that really the case?" I was able to express. "But we can't relocate right away. Would it be possible for you to allow us at least a week? A new place must be found." "Very well," his mother-in-law remarked, her tone lacking any emotion. "Ah, it seems you are eager to start this new chapter with Kenna and her husband from today." While the in-laws wore expressions of disappointment, the sister-in-law and her husband radiated joy at our decision to depart. "Take a deep breath, Mom and Dad. The house will remain right where it is." Anticipation bubbled within her as she remarked, her tone laced with delight. Although the in-laws and the sister-in-law's family were excited to take us out, Tom and I found ourselves seriously rethinking the idea of sharing a living space with them. We swiftly organized viewings for rental properties and relocated in just a week. As we prepared to depart, I firmly stated my wishes: handle everything from this point forward, and do not involve yourself with this or return to this house ever again. Their words cut deep, particularly in light of all the support we had offered them. At last, we could truly enjoy a comfortable life with Mom and Dad in our new home. It seemed like a fantasy. While collecting our things and nearing the door, I conveyed a significant detail. "Oh, Just to clarify, it appears there's been a mix-up regarding the monthly mortgage payments. It's $1.825 each month. Understood? Ensure that you grasp that concept. What is happening? They gasped in disbelief, their complexions draining of color in an instant. Wait a moment. Isn't the monthly loan payment only $473? They raised their voices in dissent. It seems there was a misunderstanding. Wasn't there? This house is registered in our father's name, meaning the loan will be settled through a deduction from his account as per the contractual agreement. Emily and I envisioned spending our entire lives in this house, so we assured him that he wouldn't need to contribute financially. We were shouldering all the expenses. Each month, I would transfer $473 while Emily sent $1.352 to our father's account. It became clear that father had only recalled the monthly deposits into his account. Additionally, Emily and I divided the living expenses evenly. Our parents likely never took a deep dive into the expenses and assumed it wasn't a considerable sum. Excuse me? Absolutely not. Affording $1.825 a month is simply not feasible for us. We are struggling to manage even the basic living expenses on top of that. What enables Emily to make such significant contributions? Tom shouted with enthusiasm. I'm not sure how you see me, but I lead a department at a large corporation. I earn a substantial amount. I interjected. Excuse me? Emily's income far surpasses mine. Tom explained to the in-laws. The in-laws appeared taken aback. We have made the decision to sever our connection with you, so it is now your responsibility to provide support to our parents. Father stated with conviction. Hold on, Emily, Tom, just a moment. We made a mistake. Let us coexist harmoniously as we once did. All right, Mother implored. What do you mean? Mom and Dad, are you considering leaving us behind? Can you all repay the loan? Right? If that's the situation, shouldn't you reside with those who are capable? I contended. That seems unjust. My father mentioned that the loan was just around $473. That is the reason we arrived here. The sister-in-law objected, stating that we had already cancelled our previous house. That doesn't concern me. Isn't this chaos a result of your desire to move in with us initially? Tom remarked. So, your husband doesn't make much money, does he? Yet you consistently emphasized that family held greater value than wealth and indulged me. When our very existence is on the line, none of that holds any weight, I remarked, highlighting their hypocrisy. The conflict among the in-laws and the sister-in-law was excruciating to witness. With a firm declaration, I announced our departure, and just like that, Tom and I stepped out of the house and into our rented room. In spite of the countless messages from the in-laws, we chose to disregard every single one. Our neighbors say that the in-laws and the sister-in-law's family had no option but to cohabitate. Despite their efforts, they were unable to meet the loan payments and ultimately had to part with the house. Upon selling the house, a significant debt lingered. Despite utilizing the father-in-law's early retirement benefits for repayment, they still found themselves lacking. In the end, they found themselves in a modest apartment, juggling several jobs to manage their financial obligations. It seems that the husband of the sister-in-law was unwilling to shoulder the responsibility, so he chose to escape. If only the in-laws had remained harmoniously with us, they wouldn't have encountered these difficulties. However, it remains outside our purview at this moment. Conversely, Tom and I discovered that our rented apartment was far cozier than we had expected. Our intention was to settle in for some time and accumulate savings. We thrived, witnessing our savings flourish at an astonishing pace. We thought it was important to conserve as much as possible for what lies ahead. All while indulging in some occasional pleasures, we envisioned a joyful life together in the years ahead.